Listen, I just need to clarify something. I'm not crying broke, like some people are like, oh, stop complaining. Listen, I wouldn't have what I have and be where I am if I couldn't do it. I'm not living above my means, okay?
So this morning, Florida lawmakers, they are really talking tough when it comes to insurance companies and the affordability crisis here in Florida.
And as our Terry Hornstein reports, they are focusing now on the new legislative session, and they're also focusing on your money.
This morning, so many of us here in Florida with the economy on our minds. And well, Florida legislators, they say they want to help tackle this problem. During an organizational session, lawmakers were sworn in, including new leadership in both chambers in Florida. The new Speaker of the Florida House, Daniel Perez, from right here in Miami. Both the Senate President, Ben Albertin, and Speaker Perez spoke about what's next for our state and discussed some of Florida's biggest challenges. Some of those discussions, tough talks when it comes to insurance companies and the affordability crisis. The House Speaker says there is one major issue the legislature needs to tackle this upcoming session.
My concern is that maybe not my generation, but the next generation of Floridians aren't going to be able to stay in Florida because the cost of being able to purchase a home, begin your family, begin your business is going to get out of reach.
So let's break down the numbers here. According to salary.com, the cost of living in Miami has gone up 3% in just the last year. And the cost of living here is more than 15% higher than the national average. Because of the population boom to our state since COVID, house prices have skyrocketed also. According to bankrate.com, the median sale price for a home here went from $400,000 in June of 2021 to $555,000 in May of this year. So really a lot for our lawmakers to discuss this session in the Florida legislature. Well, next they will have their committee sessions, followed by the regular session that begins in March.
To help with property tax, but it's not something I can just ask the legislature, hey, cut the millage, do this, do that, because they don't have constitutional authority to do the local taxes. That is your counties and your cities. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a question on the ballot that is going to allow Floridians to be able to vote themselves relief from property tax. And as I said, my vision is, if you own your home, to truly own it, you have to own it free and clear of the government. You shouldn't have to pay rent to the government. And, there'll be people that are, buying investment properties, like, fine, like that's different. There's differences, but your personal home, we really believe should not be subject to tax. It's an unrealized gain. And I'm just one that's like, if you tax me at point of sale, like I buy a car and I pay a sales tax on it. But like for me to then just, pay a tax on the value every now, cars usually when you drive them off the lot go down. Now during COVID, the cars actually went up in value. You'd buy a car, there was such a shortage that you could drive it off the lot and then you could even flip it for $5,000-$10,000 profit because there was such a rush to buy vehicles. But that's our vision. So. And of course, so what do people say? Oh, that can't be done. You can't do that. And my question is why can't it be done? Look, the first place we went to with these audits was Broward County, Florida. They got 1.9 million people. They've had no net population growth over the last 5 years. Their budgets increased 60%.
Florida's cost of living has surged dramatically, driven by rising housing prices and inflation. Many native residents struggle to keep up with the soaring rents and property taxes, leading to concerns about affordability. As essential services and daily expenses increase, long-term Floridians face the risk of displacement, prompting discussions about sustainable solutions for maintaining their communities.
Can state become too expensive for young people to live here? A new study says yes.
In 2023 alone, more than 500,000 people left Florida. That is the most that the state has ever seen, according to research report by the Florida Chamber Foundation. WE News reporter Asha Patel joins us now live in downtown Fort Myers. And Asha, what is the average age of the people who are moving out of Florida?
Well, Russ, the average age is 32 years old, and the report went on to say that the biggest reason people are moving out of the state is for job opportunities.
Some people call the state of Florida paradise.
I have always been in love with Florida. This is paradise. We live in paradise, right?
But according to a recent report by Florida Chamber Foundation, people are moving away from paradise.
I have seen the trend of people leaving, and it's kind of sad, to be honest.
The report says in 2023, Florida saw an inflow of nearly 637,000 people from other states, the highest in the country. But there was also nearly 511,000 people who left Florida for another state, making it the largest outflow the state has seen and the second most in 2023, right behind the state of California. Sergio Munez says he's had friends and family move out of the state.
I think that's the hardest thing right now is, obviously the cost of living has gone up a lot. And it's become a lot harder to live here, to find a place to live.
I spoke to a realtor, Denny Grimes, and asked, are you putting more for sale signs in front of homes?
Well, I have had clients that have had to redo their home and then had to redo it again this past year, and they're kind of tired of it. So we are having that exodus, and there's fewer people that are leaving, there are more people leaving because of the hurricanes, and it seems to be kind of repetitive.
But cost of living and hurricanes are not the only factors causing people to move away. For people between the ages of 20 to 29 years old, the U.S. Census data shows one of the second most cited reasons for moving out of Florida was job opportunities outside of the state.
Car insurance in the past year, this year, doubled. I was paying $145 a month. They wanted to start charging me like $300 and something a month. Why? Why? No car accidents. I have safe driver on my driver's license. There's no reason. Groceries doubled. I used to pay like about $180 every time I would do some groceries. That would be like maybe every week and a half, maybe 2 weeks more or less. It was coming out to like $270. Why? For all the same stuff. Why? Electric bill, $150 per month. Last summer, at this very time, I was paying like $170. This month I paid $257, and now next month is going to come out to $270 something projected. Again, why? So what I'm complaining about is that once upon a time, things were working out, right? My income was what it was. I was able to afford my car, my home, my bills, my utilities, my insurances, and all these things, groceries, right? Everything was fine. And it's like, all of the sudden, sorry, I have like something in my nose. It's like all of a sudden the world just decided to take its price for whatever service or product they're offering and double it. What? Where did this come? Like, why? So we're all like set back. Like this is all I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is, what is going on with the world? Like, what is, okay, inflation, 8%. Okay, housing interest is at what, 6-7%. It's just, who's in charge here? Who's doing all this? I mean, I get it's market, right? Supply and demand. Totally get it. But before the pandemic, this wasn't an issue. And now all of a sudden, you could be making $80,000 to $90,000 a year and have a $1,600 a month rent and have a car that costs maybe $3 something a month, but because your insurance doubled and your groceries doubled and your electric bill doubled and everything's doubling, you're suddenly making it so that now I can't afford the life that I used to afford. We're going backwards as opposed to going forwards. It shouldn't be this way, is what I'm trying to say. That was the whole point of my economic rant. I'm sorry it didn't come out as eloquent as it should have. I started off ranting about my AC because, damn, here I am. Like, everything is getting harder and harder, and then boom, one more thing happened, and that was just like my breaking point. But don't be coming at me about the price of my makeup. Go to Amazon and go ahead and tell me how much this little product costs. Like what, 20 something bucks? Like, these are not very expensive makeup products, okay? Like, come on. Are you kidding me? This is from a drugstore. This is from a drugstore. Like, really? I have one of these little things with one of those little makeup sponges, and I bought a pack of 5 on Amazon for like $6, and I washed them and I reused them. Like, this is from, like, look, it broke. This is also from a drugstore. Like, shut the heck up. I don't buy expensive, like, fancy J-Lo products. Like, I don't go all out. I live like a basic normal person. I cut expenses wherever I can. I always look for coupons. I buy things at the grocery store by unit price to make sure that I'm getting the best price. Like, are you kidding me? We shouldn't have to have gone to school and studied and worked our asses off our whole lives to like still be like, oh my God, I gotta go get this at Walmart and I gotta worry about that. I don't even have an expensive brand purse. I don't see the need for it. I don't need it. It's not what I'm spending and it's not my budgeting and that's not the point. That's not even what it is. I know what I can and cannot get. It's the fact that everything was going just fine and then all of a sudden, boom, everybody exploded their prices to double, triple, quadruple what they used to be. And now we're all like, excuse me, what? What? Do I need to ask for a 20% raise? Because apparently what you guys are asking me for is not feasible.
Let's talk about the cost of living in Connecticut versus the cost of living in Florida. Because while 99.5% of my comments are all positive and a lot of Connecticut pride and you're making the right decision, blah, 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 there are occasionally people, not this comment specifically, this one was fine, no negative intent, I feel like, but there are some people like, you'll regret it as soon as your tax bills come. You'll regret it once you get your first Eversource bill. You'll want to go back to Florida. So I just wanted to go over some things that we pay in Florida that people who live up north might not realize. One, I understand the cost of heating a house during the winter, but have you ever paid for an air conditioning bill for a house for months at a time to cool down home during 100 to 115 degree days? And it's not like a heat wave that happens in Connecticut for like a couple days. No, this is months at a time. Walking around outside right now, it's already 90 degrees. You literally feel like you're in a convection oven, and we are nowhere near the peak. It's going to be this hot until November. It's unbearable. You don't want to leave the inside of your home. Next is the cost of private school, because if you want to have the kind of education that you get in Connecticut for free, you're going to be paying for private school, and that could be anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 per child per year. Next is home insurance. It is actually a lot cheaper, I'm finding, for home insurance in Connecticut, and also you don't have to pay for things like flood insurance. Almost every house in Florida, especially in my area, you need flood insurance for, in addition to your home insurance. Next is the price of evacuating and taking care of your home during hurricane season. It might have been worth the risk when you were younger or single or didn't have kids, but when you have kids and you have a Category 5 hurricane coming towards you, you have to evacuate. Who's paying for those hotel bills? Who's paying for their Airbnb bills? Not the government, you are. Who's paying for all of that lost food from when your power goes out? Not the government, you are. Try to get anything out of FEMA is they make it so hard. It's jumping through so many hoops, and if you don't own your house, then it's almost impossible. The lost wages from work, etc., etc. Hurricane season sucks once you have kids. Next is healthcare. I made another video about this recently, but when I applied through Access Health, I got Husky B for my 3 kids. That is not Medicaid. It's the state-funded CHIP, Children's Health Insurance, whatever, for my 3 kids for $50 a month. When I inputted all of our information through the marketplace, which is Florida's public healthcare, it was at minimum $286 per child. You get a tax credit, right? So we could apply whatever money they were giving us to the kids. And you can play with this. So it was at minimum $286 per kid, but it could go up to like $600 something per child, depending on the plan that you pick. So those are just a couple things. I'm sure that there are more things that we have to pay for here that I'm not even considering. But yeah, to all the people that post daily on my videos being like, the taxes are outrageous here, you're going to be paying so much more. We've thought about it, okay? We have done our research. We know what we're doing, okay? Thanks for following along on our journey.
America is unaffordable. So how do we change it? 1, a cost of living tax cut for anyone making below the median cost of living in the United States. The federal government should not be taxing anyone into poverty. 2, taxing wealth the same as work by taxing capital gains and balancing the tax cut for working people with a surtax on millionaire and billionaire income. 3, enforcing an estate tax, taxes on trusts, and an anti-oligarch tax. 4, reinvesting this new tax revenue into free public college and universities, free childcare, and free paid family and medical leave up to a year for new parents, 2 years if you're a single parent. And 5, raising the minimum wage to at least $25 an hour, because let's be real, that is what it takes to get by in America. What other policies do you want to see to make America more affordable? Let me know in the comments. And follow our Democratic primary campaign against Jared Moskowitz in Florida's 23rd Congressional District in Broward and Palm Beach County. Peace.
So about 2005, 2006 is when I kind of had my, what I call my like political awakening. And of course, when you get into politics for like the first time, you start going down every single conspiracy rabbit hole in the book. And back then I would even tell people about like the conspiracy behind, the founding of the Federal Reserve System and things like that, which are actual, not conspiracies, but like legitimate history. But then I started listening to like Alex Jones, and I started to become one of those people who would talk about eugenics and things like that. And of course, people would just roll their eyes at you constantly because you were the conspiracy theorist. But fast forward to 2025, and everything's a conspiracy, like everything. I actually just saw a TikTok video on how lottery winners are, government plants basically that, take part of their winnings and donate back to, programs and political groups. And I'm like, oh my God, we went from no conspiracy being true to now every conspiracy being true. Anyway, aliens are real. Later.
Every time I come to Florida, I feel as though the things are going to get even more expensive. I've probably been to Florida maybe 8 times in the last 3 years, and every time I come, things get expensive. Come and go to supermarket, I'm going everywhere. I like go grocery shopping every time I come down here. I feel like things are getting expensive. Minimum wage just turned $13. If minimum wage is that low and things are so high, all people afford it. That's what me want to know. I feel like me I spend money on New York with the price that me I see. And minimum wage again, people not making that much here to be able to afford that cost of living. So, or really I go, and a lot of New Yorkers had moved down to Florida with their New York pay, but a lot of people them are call back people in the office now, so people have to get local jobs in Florida. So no, they can't be afford it anymore because no, they're making the minimum in Florida for certain jobs. They don't have the luxury to spend their money how they used to spend it. Let me know because I'm visiting. I always come to visit. If you live in Florida, let me know. Come feel like it's stuff them is very much expensive. I know people not get unless you have investments and stuff, whatever things going for yourself, fine. But to be working a regular job, down south, come even the same is for South Carolina, North Carolina. I know everything's expensive everywhere. Like people can't catch a break.
I know that this is going to sound crazy, but I have been distraught ever since my husband told me that it would be career suicide for us to move from Florida to Indiana. I really have been. And I know there's people who are going to be like, why would you ever want to leave Florida to go to Indiana of all places? And to that I say, why would you ever want to move to Florida? But what I do know is that I feel like as long as we stay in Florida, my quality of life is never going to get better. In fact, I feel like my life is completely on hold. I can't even fathom the next part of our life, as in starting a family or anything, as long as I live here, because I'm legitimately so afraid to be not only a pregnant woman in the state of Florida, but just to raise a family here. Florida just passed a 6-week abortion ban. So, even if I wanted a baby, what if something goes south? I just don't trust that I'm going to have access to the healthcare that I'm going to need. Also, once that baby is out of the womb and ready to go to school, I'm afraid to send them. Not only are the school systems here terrible, absolutely terrible, especially if you don't have, a couple, 50,000 or more extra dollars laying around to send them to a private school. But I'm afraid that they're just going to go to school and get shot, just to be frank with you. I'm afraid to go to the grocery store here. Okay, you don't even need a concealed carry permit here. Anyone can just, it's awful. My local Publix right up the street, the one I go to all the time, some guy was shot and killed there in the middle of the day because he looked at some guy like he was crazy because he was driving crazy through the parking lot. So the guy was like, you know what? I don't like how
concealed carry, the constitutionality of that. I have a hard time with the whole concealed carry permit stuff, that you have a constitutional right for something, but yet the government forces you to pay for it, which I just renewed mine and I had to pay $50. And I asked the lady at the counter, what am I paying for right now? And she was like, so you can go to another state and have reciprocating stuff. So I don't agree with her on being scared of people with concealed carry or carrying a gun. If they're carrying it in the same capacity as they would with the permit, what's the problem? If you get caught with it and you're a felon, you're going to prison. And that spills over into the schools too, because the state has proven they can't protect my child. And I have a hard time sending my kid to public school now because they've proven they can't protect my child, but then they won't let me protect my child. With the whole UVLED thing, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but me and 5 veteran dads would have gone to our trucks and gone into that school and we would have cleared that building. But yet 300 deputies showed up and wouldn't go into that room. And I see we are at this pivot point to where the state can't protect my child. They won't let me protect my child. and then they want me to pay for a permit for rights that I'm already guaranteed under the Constitution. I'll stand on that hill, but I'm sure a bunch of veteran dads would be right with me going in that door. I shouldn't be a felon because I want to stack up on the door with another deputy, and because nobody else would go in there with him. Because the sheriff says that our insurance or bond won't take care for the deputies going in that room. If my little boy is in that room, I'm going in my truck and I'm going in that room and I'm going to stop that guy. Because all that training said that I can do it too.
Cost of living is the #1 concern for everyone. Everyone's circumstances are different, but everyone is going broke. I know because I feel it. I shop in the same grocery stores you do. My opponent, however, does not, because he doesn't live here. So this is what's happened with our cost of living. During COVID, we had a transportation problem and goods went up because they were more expensive for the store to provide. But now that the transportation problem was solved, they still stayed up because of corporate greed, because they are making record profits. And now tariffs are about to go in. Goods are going to go up 25%. What I need to do is fight for you. What I have to do is go to Washington and fight for us, because I pay my bills in this district just like you. I go to the grocery stores here just like you. I want to make sure that when we go to the grocery store here in district that we're not going broke.
I think Florida might be in trouble. Not just yet, but maybe in the next year or two. Because I get a ton of comments and messages just like this. And this isn't me attacking Florida by any means. I think Florida is a beautiful place. I have so many past clients that live there, love it there, I have family there. It is a great place to live. However, it has gotten very expensive to do so. And it follows mostly a migration pattern that starts up here in New Jersey. Most people move out of New York, either from Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, over to maybe Staten Island for a stop, and then they come to the suburbs of New Jersey and here at the Jersey Shore. And then usually around retirement age, people say, why am I paying state income tax on my pension? And then they move to Florida. Now during COVID, you've had tons and tons of people from all over the country migrating to Florida. For its warmer climate, for its policies on COVID, tons of reasons of why Florida is a great place to live. However, with that, and I look at real estate prices across this country all the time. A $250,000 house 3 years ago is now $600,000 to $700,000. And I know that's not all areas. I'm generalizing the most popular of them. New construction homes in Florida that once were starting at $200,000, $250,000 are now starting at $499,000, $599,000. So it's gotten exponentially expensive. But they also have the same problems a lot of the country has with not a lot of inventory. But here's why I think Florida might be in trouble in the next few years. And I'm not calling for a real estate crash there by any means. I just think prices could either plateau, drop a little bit in certain markets, mostly due to the fact for two reasons. When people can't afford to keep their home, like that commenter and comments and messages I get all the time about my insurance skyrocketing and I can't afford it anymore, that typically means homes will hit the market inventory-wise. And on top of that, the past clients I talk to, the friends, the family that I have there, they tell me it is absolutely booming with new construction. There's a new construction home everywhere in Florida. So that means the supply in the future years could outpace the demand if people, again, resale market or go to sell their house because they have to because they can't afford the insurance. And also on top of that, you have massive amounts of new construction going in that will take down the value because they'll be able to compete, drop their prices, offer programs, kind of what they're doing now. And you add that all back into the fact that a $250,000 house is now worth double or triple what it was 3 years ago. And you could see prices coming down if all that happens.
Now, there are a number of overwhelming comments on Facebook and Instagram and all the platforms that state the cost of living in Florida has just become too much for individuals. Now, we all know that there's so many states in the last 3 years, the home values have just risen exponentially.
Would you vote for no more property taxes in Florida? Because they're pushing it again. with two very intentional posts on social media citing Broward County having nearly a 45% increase in property taxes since 2020. And then in the second post, just a few hours later, Gainesville having over an 85% increase. Now remember, all the proposals for this are for homesteaded properties only. I hear a lot of people talking about how this is for only people that have paid off their home. No, it's for people that live in their home. And remember, in Florida, you still have to claim that as your homestead property. You don't just get it because you're living in it. Now, of course, this can't happen this year. It has to be a constitutional amendment, which will be voted on in 2026. And November of 2026 for that, so over a year away. And even though this has a ton of support, a lot of shares on social media, and a lot of people saying, what about my town? There are critics, and for some good reasons. The big one is, what are they going to replace that income with to make sure that the services still get paid for? The Florida Policy Institute released a study that said they think they'd have to double the sales tax to make up for it. Because property tax in Florida is the largest source of income from the state, $55 billion. But remember, you don't lose all $55 billion if you only apply it to homesteaded properties. There's a lot up in the air. DeSantis vetoed a $1 million proposal to do a study because he said, look, we know what needs to get done, let's just get it done. But I'm going to assume there's more counties coming because there was a lot of traction on social media with people sharing their area and what's happened to their property taxes. But what do you think about this? And if the constitutional amendment is on the ballot next year, which way are you voting? Let us know, and let's see if we can get a good idea of what that would look like.
الأخبار عم بيقولوا إنه الحياة بولاية فلوريدا صارت شبه مستحيلة لدرجة إنه الناس اللي قريب يتقاعدوا عم يدوروا على شغل تاني مشان يقدروا يستمروا مشان يعيشوا ويدفعوا فواتيرهم لأنه صار كل شيء غالي. وفي ناس يعني بال 65 66 67 عم بيقولوا انه شو بده يصير فينا، يعني في كتير منهم ما عندهم عائلات، وفي هلا مجموعه من الناس المتبرعين او المتطوعين عاملين مثل جمعيه ليضلوا على التليفونات وعلى الانترنت يحاولوا يدوروا على وظائف او شغل لهدول الناس. ما عم بيلاقوا، يمكن قال ضلوا 3 أسابيع عم يدوروا لقوا شغل بمحل دونت لواحد عمره 67 سنة، لأنه الفاست فود ريستورانت وهدول الأماكن عم يشغلوا ناس صغار بالعمر اللي يكون عندهم طاقة كتير ويشغلوهم ويفلحوا عليهم. بينما إذا جابوا حدا مسن يعني بيعرفوا إنه ما رح يكون عنده نفس الطاقة. بس أكيد هذا الشيء مو بس عم نشوفه بفلوريدا، يا فلوريدا صايرة مانا فلوريدا anymore على فكرة. كل شيء عم يتغير، القوانين والسياسات والأسعار وطريقة الحياة أو كل هدول الأمور. ولكن الغلاء بالمعيشة وإنه الناس المتقاعدين يرجعوا يشتغلوا، هذا عم بيصير بكل يعني ولايات أمريكا وبكل أنحاء العالم. يعني إذا بدنا نركز على حل المشكلة هون بأمريكا بدها حلول جذرية مثل تخفيض الأسعار للأشياء المهمة مثل المواد الغذائية والبنزين والأجار والبيوت. طبعا الأشياء الثانية يعني لازم تلحقهم، التأمين، الطبابة وهدول الأشياء. بس على الأقل المواد الرئيسية اللي نحن عم نستخدمها كل يوم لتقدر الناس تستمر. وإذا ما لقوا حلول يعني البلد بده ينهار.
What do you think about Florida's case right now? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.